good morning. So this video is going to be about tips to help your marriage. And so yesterday I was conversing with a friend, and we came upon these things that just like stood out in our minds, and I wanted to share these with you because the tactics of the old times when the enemy would use certain things to break up marriages, right? Because the enemy wants to break up marriages, it wants to break up families so it could divide and conquer, right? If the enemy can get the husband away from the home, which the husband is the leader, right, the protector of the home, then now the wife and the children are all alone, and now the enemy can fully attack not just the husband now because he's wandered off, but also the children and the wife, because more than likely the wife will, let's say if there's not enough financial support, she's now going to have to go to work and do all these things, and her whole focus is not going to be able to be on nurturing. So her time, her energy, her ability to nurture is going to be cut very slim, and she's going to have to take on multiple roles, even though she's not going to be fully successful in the role of obviously being a man, because only a man could be a man, right? Only a man could be a natural leader. Even though us women, we have we have qualities to be a leader, because we are influential, and we do help others, and we are also very wise, and we're loving and nurturing. But man, it just comes natural. It just comes natural for them to be leaders. And then for women, it's usually like a gift, and then they discover it, and then they help others. Anyways, trying to make this about marriage. Well, anyway, so we were discussing about like some tips that actually can help marriages, can help others. And one way to do that is to kind of be in tune with your husband or with your wife. Notice when there is a pattern of behavior that is not consistent with their behavior. Get some coffee. Good topic. And we already all know this stuff, but now since we have social media, let's bring this all to light. Okay, so if there's like a change in behavior, something that they're doing different, they seem more stressed out, or they seem like they're mentally or physically preoccupied more than usual, that is a red flag. That's like an issue of concern. So, it's good to check up on and check in on your husband or wife and be like, hey, what's going on? Or is there anything I could do to help you? Because oftentimes there's like some type of health issue that seems to manifest itself in our mind and our body, right? And where we don't really know that there's a health issue, but we can just see that there's a change in behavior, right? But usually there's like an underlying issue. There's an underlying issue, and then that issue is different for other people. So sometimes it's a health issue, sometimes it's a mortal sin, sometimes it's something that's going to be temporary, and then the person returns to their normal behavior. But let's say if it's not temporary, let's say if the person is not returning to their normal behavior, let's say if it's either a sin, a mortal sin, or if it's a health issue, or if it's a traumatic experience, those three things can be broken up and looked at differently depending what the actual cause of the change in behavior is, right? Because if it's health, then obviously go to your healthcare provider and get checked out, and get your blood work done, get everything done, and see if everything's going well. Because as a wife, as a husband, our duty is also to kind of mirror back to our husband and wife what we observe in a loving and respectful manner, where we actually are there for them to help them progress further in life, right? So with that being said, let's say that they get a whole health screening and all that, and they're good, it could be a traumatic experience. And let's say if this person says, oh, it's a traumatic experience, okay, there's also help for that, right? And obviously, the process of grieving, probably going to go through that and always invite the Lord always. And then also it could be a mortal sin, or it could be a sin that they're struggling with, right? But if it's a mortal sin, right, usually that takes, not usually, you know, you need to confess your sin to a priest. And depending what type of sin, because the Bible does say there's certain, sin and certain demons that could only be casted out through prayer and fasting. So, engage in prayer and fasting in community with those around you that are of good influence, not bad influence, but good influence. So now I'm going to get into some of the signs that you may notice that may not be consistent with how they usually behave. Okay? I'm going to get into it. 1, they're sleeping on the couch. And this could be from a man or a woman. Because now, in today's society, it's not like how it was in the 1950s and the 1960s. I'm just comparing that time frame, right? It's not like how it was back then, where typically the woman would stay home, and she would be available for the children, to be able to nurture them, to be able to be available to them so the children can grow up in a safe environment, a consistent environment, in a nurturing environment where they can be secure later on as adults, because in their mind, they always have at least one parent that they could call on, and that one parent will answer their phone call. So what that does for children, that gives them a sense of security, that they're safe and that they're loved and they're nurtured, even when the husband is away at work and, fighting the bad guys and bringing home the meat, right? So that was your typical role. Nowadays, right, with the economy and all this and all that, and with other circumstances involved, right, financial difficulties or whatever it may be, it looks like the husband's working full-time, the wife is working full-time, and the children are usually left unattended to. And, and sometimes you can't do anything about it, right? It is what it is. It's survival. Like, you're surviving. I'm not going to get into it, right? That's another subject. But the whole point of the focus is the children are not getting the nurturing that they need or the leadership that they need, because, both parents are mentally and physically absent and are not available for the children. Okay. So with that being said, if, let's say, a husband leaves, right, and he leaves his wife, then the wife, let's say she's a responsible one, right, then she stays at home, right, with the children, nurturing, taking care of them. But if she can't make financial means, that means she has to go, right, and work. So now the children are left without the mother and the father, essentially like orphans. And that is a tactic for the enemy: divide and conquer. So now that we know that that's a tactic, is to divide and conquer, right? So now we, as Christians, we need to work together and kind of check each other when we see a behavior that's not consistent with our values. Like I said earlier, 1, sleeping on the couch, distancing themselves. They're engaging in distancing away from the family. It could also look like going to the gym late at nights, waiting till a certain time, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, or 8 o'clock, and then being out till 10, 11, and then coming home at 12 in the morning or even 11 at night, and then being like, oh, just really wanted to get 2 hours, 3 hours at the gym, and so forth. Basically excuses to be away from the family. This also can look like overworking, working too much and all the time, which men should work, right? Women should also be nurturers and do what they can, right? However, how this looks like is working to the point that they're working so hard even when they're not actually bringing in income. So it looks like mindless jobs, or even jobs that require a lot of mental focus but doesn't produce financial means for the family that the family is actually relying on. It's more of a self-gratification. And I'm not talking about hobbies. I'm talking about like work that these individuals engage in that takes them away from their family, and the away from their family, it doesn't even produce a financial means. And let's say that it does produce financial means, it's an excessive amount. Okay, that's what I mean. Another tactic is constantly being away from the family and finding excuses to say that, oh, I gotta go help this person, I gotta go help that person. Oh, I need to go run this errand, I need to go run that errand. Oh, you don't have to leave, I'll go. And again, this could go for a man or a woman. This is no longer just exclusive to men cheating. This is also exclusive to women cheating, adultery. And when we commit adultery, right, the word adultery is against the Lord. Yes, when you commit adultery, it's, or when you cheat, on your husband or your wife, it is on your significant other. But ultimately, it's against the Lord, because marriage is holy and it should be respected, right? Because we should love and respect and honor the Lord. Thus, that bleeds into our marriage, right? Let me get some coffee. I know this is getting like, yeah. All right. Now, let's say this cheating, this adultery, or like this scheme to get, the husband away from the household, or the woman away from the household. Let's say this scheme, right, is consistent. And let's say that this scheme is already into adultery, right? Already into cheating, right? And this is about marriages, okay? So let's say that. And let's say there is a mistress, okay? So often in society, we tend to blame the mistress. We're like, it's the mistress' fault. Like, if she wasn't there, he would not cheat. But I would like to say, let's not just focus on him cheating, because now it's also women. Men don't only cheat, women cheat too. Women may not get caught as much as men do, but it's happening now at an equal rate, whether it's visible or invisible, okay? Because now both parties are not satisfied, husband and wife, they're not satisfied with the roles that they have, because, God gives us very distinctive roles, and whether we realize it or not, if we don't operate in those roles, we're not going to be satisfied, okay? So back to the subject that I was talking about. So let's say the mistress, and I'm going to say mistress, I'm going to refer to, I'll say lover, right? Because mistress is, usually just a woman, right? So I'm going to say lover, okay? So let's say the spouse, it could be, the husband or the wife, all right, is engaging in adultery, is engaging in marital affair with, the lover, okay? Usually we blame the lover and say like, oh, the lover must have done this, the lover must have done that. Usually the lover blames the spouse that is innocent or that is not cheating. So how that looks like is the spouse may say like, oh, my spouse, and we'll just say, for the context of this video, so it doesn't get too confusing, we'll say, this is maybe what the husband may say to the lover, right? Just as in the context, but like I always said, men and women are cheating now equally, right? Committing adultery equally. And as Christians, we're supposed to expose the truth. Why is that important? So we are able to stand firm in our family unit, so it stays intact. And so we are built on faith, hope, and love, and to make sure that our children are able to prosper and grow in the Lord, okay? So I know I'm talking fast. Okay, back to that. So let's say like the husband tells the lover, the mistress. Okay, so let's say the husband tells the mistress, lover, oh, some of the excuses are like, oh yeah, my wife, she's a stay-at-home mom and she can't make financial means. I'm sorry, like I can't see you. Another one that we hear is like, oh yeah, this tragedy happened to her and she doesn't have money and I have to financially support her, or I have to be there for the kids because the kids are very helpless, or I have to like do all these things for her, or like, oh, she's too weak, or oh, like she's too helpless, oh, she wouldn't be able to handle this information, or oh, like so many excuses. And we need to empower, the lover or the mistress, or, to be like, listen, like, you need to find your identity in Christ and don't listen to this person that's giving you and feeding you these lies as to why they can't leave their wife. It's a lie. It doesn't matter what lie, it doesn't matter if they make you think you're special or you're like the one that they are like saving their time and energy to be able to get to you. They're flying you, they're paying for you and all this and all that. And then you're thinking in your mind like, oh, like there's no way, because like, wouldn't she be able to see, his bank account and all this and all that? And because like she's not able to see his bank account, that means they're not together. Or like, oh, he screenshot this message and sent it to me and it had all this toxic conversation back and forth. They must not be together. Or even if they're together, she is so mean, she is so this, she is so that. We need to stand together as Christian brothers and sisters and realize that adultery against a marriage is adultery against the Lord. And it doesn't matter what excuse, and let's say for this context, I'm saying husband. It doesn't matter what excuse the husband is giving, the mistress, the lover, as to why he's not fully leaving the wife for the lover. It doesn't matter what excuse. What matters is that the lover is still there. So he will continue to feed her everything and anything that she wants to hear, as long as he gets to fulfill his lustful desire, because it's lust. It's not real love, it's lust. However, the lover may feel like, oh, this is real love. He actually has a plan that, he's going to leave her and this and that. Or like, oh, he paid for my vacation and he's going to meet me there. Oh, we got an uninterrupted time. Meanwhile, the husband just got in a huge fight with his wife and then went a couple days without talking. So that's why they had uninterrupted time. All right. So again, all these tactics, all these things, they're nothing new. So I'm not exposing nothing new. However, I'm bringing them to light. Just like the Bible says, bring every single dark deed to light, expose it. So, the tactics of the enemy are no longer able to be in effect. So when you have your husband or you have your wife distancing themselves physically, emotionally, spiritually, it's time to get connected to God. And I would say, please get connected to God even before then, right? But especially when you see those signs, it's time to put on the full body armor and go in and protect your marriage, right? And pray to God, because our protection is in the Lord, right? Our ability to be able to be strong is in prayer. And of course, being proactive. So when we see our significant other, when we see our husband or our wife, engaging in behavior that takes them away from our family, we need to be able to stand up and say like, hey, what's going on, And we need to be able to have that conversation, right? More coffee. And also, we need to help the lovers or the mistresses that, they're being fed these lies, to keep them there, right? Because the Bible does also say that, there's certain people that use others, that they're so weak and they're so like lost in their sin, and they're so entrapped in their sin. And these wolves, they see that they're trapped in their sin and they use that against them. So it's about empowering, the lover or the mistress also to be able to find their identity in Christ so they could have a changed behavior, right? Because this is not just about shaming and putting down and whatever. This is about getting closer to God so we can have holy matrimonies and we can raise solid children that are able to also engage in holy matrimony, and so we could have like a better society, right? All right, so wanted to do this video, totally not short, but just some tips of what, can help in the marriage, to be proactive, and to just kind of show that, we want to like protect our family, and even though they're old tactics, kind of being mindful of that. All right. Hope you guys have an amazing day. I love you guys. Bye.